you enjoyed lunch and the groovy tunes that we had here. That was fun. My name is Hanneke Faber. I'm going to talk to you about F&R. Maybe a quick, actually, let's make sure that's on there. Foods and Refreshments. Quick introduction, since many of us don't know each other. Hanneke Faber joined Unilever last year in 2018. Before that, spent 20 years with Procter & Gamble. In my last job there out of Cincinnati, ran the big global shampoo brands, Pantene, Head & Shoulders, Herbal Essences, and then spent 4 years in retail on the board of Ahold Delhaize, running their e-commerce business. So for those of you based here in New York, I was running Peapod and also a bunch of other European grocery.coms and bol.com in the Netherlands. Super fun. We took that business from $1 billion to $3 billion in 4 years, wild ride, but I couldn't say no to Unilever, and I'm delighted to be here. Ran Europe last year and now have taken over from Nitin in Foods and Refreshments. So first we have this slide. Please note the safe harbor. What I'd like to do today really is just two things. A little bit of time on how we look at the market and what the big trends are in F&R, but very much then focused on how we're going to grow this business a little faster with our Force for Good growth strategy. So the market, obviously very, very big, $2.5 trillion in global foods and growing at a 4% CAGR for the last 5 years. We expect that to continue because the global population is growing and everyone's got to eat, and because the global middle class is growing, so people will eat better. And just in India and China, we'll add 2 billion people into the middle class in the next 10 years. And I think the funnest thing in foods these days, it really is sexier than ever. When I was a shampoo girl at P&G, beauty was the sexy thing. Today, every teenager posts their food pictures on Instagram. As my 15-year-old says, Instagram eats first. So we cannot eat until we photograph our food. It is super sexy. There are something like 350 million food posts on Insta. So food is sexier than ever, and it's a really fun place to be. What are the mega trends that we see in foods? The biggest one, of course, is better for me and the planet. This is fresh, natural, vegetarian, vegan, local. People really care what they put in their body and what that does for the environment. Another big trend is what we call anytime, anywhere, which is food delivery. And again, if you live here in New York, I'm sure you're ordering all your food in. We all know those delivery.coms and the grocery.coms. I think what's new in emerging markets especially is what I would call fresh.com. So I was in Shanghai just 2 weeks ago, and there's a picture of the customer that we visited. They're called Ding Dong Fresh. I don't know if any of you have heard about them. They're about a 2-year-old company. They're in Shanghai only. They have 500 dark stores already in 2 years. They deliver in 30 minutes fresh foods for you to cook at home. And they do 390,000 orders a day, which is a magnitude bigger than a Peapod or a Tesco.com. The thing that blew me away visiting them was, first of all, he says it'll be 5 times bigger next year, which is interesting. But also, I walked in there thinking, okay, fresh.com, this is going to be fruits, vegetables, meat, chicken. All those things were there. But what's his top seller? Live fish. 22, it's like walking into an aquarium. So you have 22 fish tanks with fishes, different water temperatures. In 30 minutes, you have your live fish at home. And if it's dead on arrival, of course, you get to send it back. Now, why is all this relevant? Because it's a great opportunity for us to sell ice cream and condiments. Because all these people that are ordering this fresh food, many of them don't know how to cook, don't know what to do with the fresh food. So big trend and big opportunity for us, the Ding Dong Freshes, but also the Getir's, the Yemeksepedes in Turkey. This is a big trend in emerging markets. The 2 other big trends, delicious experiences. This is the flip side of all that health and all that convenience. People do want to sit down. The slow food movement, the food vacations, the indulgence of actually having a really, really nice ice cream or a really nice glass of wine. Indulgence is a counter trend. And finally, personalized wellness. That's probably the trend that's still most in its infancy. This is targeted diets, fortification, DNA-based eating. The science is in its infancy, but it will come. So this is what we see as the big trends, and we'll come back to that and what it means for our strategy. Of course, the foods industry also has massive challenges, which we'd like to turn into opportunities. Obesity, 1 billion people obese in the world, but also 800 million people who don't have enough to eat. That's a crime, and as a food industry, we have a massive role to play here. You may have heard there's a climate crisis. What you may not know is that 25% of global greenhouse gases actually come from the foods industry. And that's deforestation and cows. Cows are a big part of that. And if we were all to eat a little less meat, this would make a huge difference for the planet. And finally, waste, not just plastic waste, which we've talked about and which we'll keep talking about, but also food waste. There's a lot of concern, will we be able to feed the world in 2050 when the population peaks? Well, we certainly can if we weren't throwing away 1/3 of all food that's produced. So massive challenges. But again, we take those as opportunities. I think this is the most exciting business to work in, where we can really do well by doing good. So Unilever's F&R business then, what does that look like? We're about 19 billion, about 40% of Unilever. That is compelling scale. We have very competitive margins, close to 18% last year. Unlike our other two divisions, less than half of our sales are in emerging markets. Which again is an opportunity for us to increase that footprint further there with the fabulous capabilities we have as a company in emerging markets. And we're headquartered in Food Valley in the Netherlands. We've just opened a fabulous new innovation center on the campus of Wageningen University, which in every ranking is the world's #1 food and agri-tech university. Super cool to be there within their ecosystem of professors, students, startups, scale-ups, and that should give a real boost to our innovation capability. We have a strong category and brand portfolio, which you should be familiar with. We're globally #1 in ice cream, in mayonnaise, in scratch cooking aids. So that's bouillons, condiments, herbs and spices, seasonings, and in tea. We have 7 big, more than 1 billion, some are close to 1 billion, but I've called them our 7 big brands: Knorr, Walls, Lipton, Hellmann's, Magnum, Ben & Jerry's, and Brooke Bond Tea. We also have a fabulous set of acquired brands. They grow on average about 3 times faster, and there's some real stars in there. Pukka Tea, consistently growing more than 20%. The Vegetarian Butcher, which we'll talk about in a second. And also here in the US, Talenti, which you've heard about in the Digital Hub, and Sir Kensington, also growing quite nicely. And finally, on our business, we have a strong presence in fast-growing channels. Out-of-home, so out-of-home channels are about 40% of our business. And clearly with that anytime, anywhere trend, people are eating out and outside of their house more often. Part of that is digital, part of that is old-fashioned out-of-home channels, and we have a strong track record in those out-of-home channels. So our CAGR for the last 5 years is more than 5% growth per year in that channel, and that's there's a lot of sub-channels, by the way, in out-of-home channels, but the way we define it is through our Unilever Food Solutions business. We're a leader in restaurants, hotels, institutions, and workplaces. And with our ice cream out-of-home business, we're a leader in convenience, gas, leisure, and also in delivery.com. So this is not just a center store business. I just want you to realize that. A large part of our business actually sits in out-of-home. And another little known fact is that Knorr is a real chef's favorite. Knorr does more than €1 billion in sales just with chefs. And more than 3 million chefs around the world use Knorr, which is exciting. So a little video on that out-of-home business.
In this crazy world we call food service, we know it's not always easy. There's tired feet, long hours and hard graft. Whether you're serving a customer or at the pass, no 2 days are the same. But there's opportunity behind every oven door. From pot washers to front of house, from owning your own cafe to seeing a customer smile. Whatever drives you, drives us. Just think of us as part of your brigade. We're here to support you through the busy times and inspire you to keep trying something new. But most of all, we're here to help you progress. So bring on the empty plates, happy customers and hearty smiles. Whatever it is you want to achieve, we've got your back.
And again, I hope you enjoyed the lunch. Those were just like 10 of the more than 300 chefs we employ around the world to work in this business to help us inspire other chefs, which is a great capability. So looking forward, our ambition is to be a business where we help people to taste good, feel good, and also to be a force for good. And when I say force for good, I mean more force and more good. We need more force in this business, more growth, more speed. But we do that by doing good. And again, there's no other business than this business where we can really do good for the health of people and the health of the planet. And we have 4 clear growth choices: accelerate the out-of-home channel growth, a shift in our portfolio, every brand a movement, which is what we call purpose, and winning innovation. And I'd like to touch on all 4 of those. If it lets me move forward. Would you help me? There we go. So despite our strong presence in the out-of-home channel, we still have opportunity because we're underweighted when you compare us to the market. So our business is just under 40% in out-of-home channels. Of all food consumed, about 60% globally is consumed in out-of-home channels. So there's certainly upside there. And we see this as a major opportunity for accelerating our business, mainly through increasing points of sale. So even though we cover an enormous amount of restaurants globally, that's less than 20% of all restaurants globally. So still an enormous coverage opportunity. There's also opportunity in portfolio cross-selling. There's many restaurants or cruise ships or swimming pools or movie theaters where we sell part of our portfolio, but not our whole portfolio. And there's an opportunity for branded presence. Any brand is the company it keeps, and to be what we call front of house, like Hellmann's here with the burger, is a great opportunity to build your brands as well. Now, digital is helping us do this, because clearly you can imagine, going to 5 times as many restaurants around the world. If you have to do that all with physical people, feet on the street, it's going to be prohibitively expensive. We're building a digital route to market, and already we have 1 million chefs digitally connected to our Unilever Food Solutions ordering site and to our inspiration website where we gather fabulous first-party data. So the example I'd like to use to illustrate is also a digital example. You saw it downstairs. Hopefully most of you saw it. It's called IceCreamNow, based on a wonderful consumer insight. It is always summer at 9 p.m. on the couch, so why not order in some ice cream? We started this effort less than 2 years ago, and we are now partnering with pretty much every big delivery.com that you can imagine. So whether it's the pizza chains or the courier services like Uber Eats, or the platforms like thuisbezorgd.nl or Just Eat, we are there. And we've built this business from 0 to just under 100 million. It should be this year. We're in 150 cities and counting, and clearly there's a lot of upside here going forward. So that's an exciting example of how we're building out of home today. Now, second, and I know this has a lot of your interest, our portfolio shift. So in foods, there's clear tailwinds, and there's also some clear headwinds. We got to focus on the tailwinds. Tailwinds when it comes to channels, we already talked about that. Out of home, grocery.com, delivery.com, all of them have growth rates 5% and a lot more. So that's where we'll be focusing our efforts for growth. Categories. We are playing in a number of categories that are actually very healthy. We need to get more out of those. Impulse and premium ice cream, all these are CAGRs, by the way, of the last 5 years, growing 5%. Scratch cooking, those are the bouillons, the seasonings, the herbs and spices, 5% globally. Herbal and green tea, 6%. Snacking, huge category where we're actually quite small, but we have some interesting efforts. We'll talk about those. Then growth spaces, vegan and vegetarian, so plant-based and meat replacement, a big, big space. And personalized wellness also growing fast, although, yet quite small. And of course, geography, where we have an opportunity to increase our footprint in emerging markets using the fabulous Unilever capabilities. So that will be our focus in terms of where to grow. And a lovely example, obviously, is the Vegetarian Butcher, an acquisition of this year. We bought it earlier this year. The Vegetarian Butcher is the market leader in the Netherlands, which is a pretty progressive, competitive market when it comes to meat replacement. Founded by Jaap Korteweg, who is a 9th-generation farmer. Very interesting story. In the late 90s, Holland had a swine flu epidemic. And Jaap, he was not a pig farmer, but he was asked whether they could use his cold storage for dead pigs. And he had 10,000 dead pigs on his farm. Overnight, he became a vegetarian. But he really loved meat. He really, really loved meat. And he missed meat. So that's how he started the company. He started experimenting. And he built a great little business, not just with burgers, but with What the Cluck chicken, Magic Mince, the Unbelievables, very tongue-in-cheek, but with a huge range of meat, chicken, and even fish replacements. We bought the business just earlier this year. Jaap's dream was to be the biggest butcher in the world. That's what he told us when we acquired. We said, oh, dang, that's Tyson. They're actually bigger than Unilever. So we have some room to go. We said, okay, we got to go after some big customers. So very excited that yesterday we started shipping in 26 countries the Vegetarian Butcher burger with Burger King, their new Rebel Whopper. Looks great. I just went on social media to check, but everyone seems to really love the burger, which is great. And yeah, we love this. So got a couple of videos for you. One that introduces Jaap and our new Unilever CEO, Hugo, and the ad from Burger King.
Jaap!
Hi, Hugo.
Rebel Whopper, here we come! Lovely weather, by the way.
So Jaap, great to see you again on a historic place, your farm, where it all began. So tell us a bit about it.
Well, I'm a 9th-generation farmer. Grow up between the cows and fattening bulls, a big meat lover, and now the Vegetarian Butcher with the mission to become the biggest butcher in the world as soon as possible.
So for those that don't know the Vegetarian Butcher yet, what is the Vegetarian Butcher?
What we try is to develop the new meat, plant-based meat, for real meat lovers. Not for vegetarians who don't like meat, but people who like meat very much.
Quite a journey, and a shared journey by now between ourselves. I remember the day and I said, you know, you want to become the biggest butcher in the world. What better to team up with Burger King? Now, you know, I mean, here we are, making a partnership announcement and going all across Europe.
Yeah, and that's because of the cooperation with Unilever. You did it. That's your power as a worldwide company.
So Jaap, enough talking now. The real proof is in the tasting. So let's give it a go.
For real meat lovers, I think.
Absolutely.
So that's Jaap, and then let me just show you Burger King's advertising for their new Rebel Whopper.
This Burger King Whopper has no beef. Introducing the Rebel Whopper with a patty made from plants.
Kein beef.
Take a look. Try it yourself. It's totally not beef, I swear.
No way, that has to be beef.
Go tell your friends you ate plants on a Whopper, and Burger King made you do it.
No way.
The Rebel Whopper. 100% Whopper, 0% beef. Only at Burger King.
Great. So that's channels and portfolio. The third area of growth, of course, we are Unilever, is every brand and movement. And in our foods and refreshments portfolio of brands, we have some of the most purposeful brands in our stable. Of course, we all know about Ben & Jerry's, but I just put two pictures just from the last 2 months to illustrate how purposeful not just our brands, but the people who work on those brands every day are. So that's the Ben & Jerry's store in London. And on the day of the climate strike, without telling anyone, the employees just decided to close up shop because they were going to go out and strike. They put this sign in the window. This was not planned. I saw it around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Wasn't great for sales that day, obviously, but it's so the right thing to do for that brand. And it just shows how ingrained that is for Ben & Jerry's. And then on the right is one of our newer brands. That's Tim Westwell. He's the founder of Pukka. On World Peace Day, we launched Peace Tea for Pukka. And to celebrate, Tim decided to have a peace strike in Covent Garden. So again, there he is, really going for what he believes in. And again, so the right thing for that beautiful brand. Now, it's not only our small brands. What's critical is that we start bringing back purpose for our big brands. And it was there on brands like Knorr back in 1849 when Karl Heinrich Knorr founded Knorr. It's always been there in Hellmann's, and on tea it's certainly always been there. So I want to show you 3 films that show how we're bringing back purpose in our brands to attract millennials. These are all fairly new, but look really promising in market.
When you choose Knorr, the goodness starts in your pan, but it doesn't stop there. We use natural ingredients, and 95% of all our herbs and vegetables are grown sustainably, respecting the land and farmers. So you're choosing to do better for the planet, and better for you. Knorr, a little big difference.
E quando você abre a geladeira e pensa, não tem nada para comer. Com Hellmann sempre dá para fazer um sanduíche. E pode também transformar o que sobrou em um macarrão muito cremoso. Ou até mesmo fazer um estrogonofe delicioso. Quando abrir a geladeira e pensar que não tem nada para comer, lembre-se que comida é muito boa para ser desperdiçada. Hellmann, ao seu lado pela boa comida.
ஒரு காலத்தில் இந்த முழு காலனியே இவங்க போட்ட டீயை குடிக்க வரும். 3 வருஷம் முன்னாடி இவங்களுக்கு ஞாபக மறதி வியாதி வந்துச்சு, அல்சைமர்ஸ். உடனே காலனி இவங்களை மறந்துருச்சு.
அமித், நீ பிரமாதமா டீ போட்டிருக்க கண்ணா.
விடுங்க, போய் சொல்லாதீங்க. ஆனா என்னோட பேர் அமித் இல்ல. அமித் இவங்க பையன், அமெரிக்கால இருக்கான், அடிக்கடி வருவான். நான் நூத்தன ஆண்டியோட பக்கத்து வீட்டுக்காரன். என்னை பொறுத்தவரை நம்மவங்களை மறக்கிறது தான் ரொம்ப பெரிய வியாதி.
இன்னும் அரை கப் குடிக்கலாமா?
இதோ கொண்டு வரேன்.
Brewpond 3 Roses, ஒற்றுமையின் சுவை.
So very different purposes, very different brands, very different countries. You saw here Germany, that was translated, Brazil and India. But our belief is that purposeful brands will grow faster, and the early results on this would say that is indeed the case. So finally, winning innovation, also quite critical in foods. What we've done is we've redirected our innovation efforts into those big 4 megatrends that are showed up front. So better for me and the planet, very focused on plant-based, and I'll come back to that in a moment, and sustainable packaging, critical in foods as well. Anytime, anywhere, snacking is a big opportunity. We're actually quite small in snacking in the absolute, but if you look at our Knorr snack pots, which are just a much healthier and much tastier way than those noodles you guys all know, those are growing 15% the last couple of years, and we think there's a big opportunity for other forms of snacking as well. Delicious experiences, also a really important innovation thrust for us. You just tasted the new Knorr seasonings for chefs. Those are phenomenal. They can make you look really great at home too if you like to cook. And of course, ice cream is full of indulgent options like the Talenti layers that you've heard about. And then finally, again, for us, personalized wellness is the thing that will come. Fortification, supplements, targeted nutrition. So we have a business in there. Knorr has a big fortified business in emerging markets. Pukka does a nice job in selling supplements. But our big thrust will come with Horlicks, and that acquisition, we're hoping to close that in the next couple of months. Now, plant-based is funny because really Peter and I were talking earlier. You know, plant-based was at the founding of Unilever in 1929. We were a margarine company, and you know, that's like the original plant-based product. So we've always been quite good at plant-based, but really for the last 6 years, we've had a cross-category plant-based R&D team in place, which has now been beefed up. That's a terrible way to say that. Sorry, in our new Wageningen center. And we were actually rated #1 in FAIR's, which is the investor network for ESG issues, in FAIR's protein diversification ranking versus all our competitors. So more ready for protein diversification than others. So we're proud of that because actually replacing dairy and meat is hard. It's hard to get the texture right, the juiciness of meat, the creaminess of dairy products, and it's hard to get the taste right. You know, there's many a plant-based product out there that you don't want to touch. But I think we've done a pretty damn good job, and the consumer and influencers would say the same thing. So Ben & Jerry's non-dairy is a success in market, got several awards. Magnum Vegan has great momentum, and again, has won several awards. And Hellmann's Vegan is also off to a really great start, winning Product of the Year of the new grocer in the UK. So we're excited. Plant-based is not just a vegetarian butcher. That's been a really nice addition. But plant-based really goes across much more of our portfolio. And finally, of course, we are a big polluter, so sustainable packaging is also a critical part of our innovation program. So loads of great examples. Hellmann's going to be the first global foods brand in 100% recycled packaging, coming here in the US very soon, Q1 2020. We're moving many of our products, which are today in multi-layer plastic, which is evil because you cannot recycle it, into paper or recyclable plastic. So things like ice cream tubs, very difficult, but we've just launched a compostable paper-based tub in Italy. Also, these pouches on Knorr go into paper, which is again hard to do because it doesn't last as long, blah, 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 but we're doing it because it's the right thing to do. And finally, one that I really, really love, it's on the chart there as well. Solero is our first ice cream bar without wrappers. And that takes away a lot of plastic, but in a multi-pack you can do it. Took us a little while to design it and to make sure that it will actually last and that they don't all go together and become a mess. But we've done it, and again, that takes away a lot of plastic. So with that, you know, just in summary, taste good, feel good, force for good, more force, more good is what we need in this business. And I think we have some pretty clear choices in terms of the out-of-home channel, portfolio shift to tailwinds, every brand and movement, and winning innovation. And with that, I thank you. And I think we have time for a few questions. The mic is coming.
Hi, it's James Target from Berenberg. You mentioned Horlicks and that moving into that fourth vertical you were talking about. It's obviously a year since it was announced at this event last year. So I wonder if you could give us an update on where you see the opportunities for you in the next 12 months coming from Horlicks.
Yeah, so we haven't closed. So I can't give you a whole lot of detail about we're going to do X, Y, and Z. We're hoping to close early next year. But clearly priorities on any big acquisition like this, but certainly for Horlicks, are fielding the best team. So we are ready to field that best team once it closes with a nice combination of people from Horlicks and from our outstanding Hindustan Lever business. Keeping up the growth in year one. So again, we've been working plans to continue the nice growth that Horlicks has had. And of course, delivering on the synergies, which are quite critical. And then, the one thing, if you say, what does you keep me up at night on Horlicks? They have some fabulous capabilities in terms of doctor detailing. That is not something that we've done a whole lot of. So we're being very intentional about keeping that capability and, in fact, strengthening it further. Yeah.
James Edwards-Jones from RBC. Do you gain any benefit as a food business from being part of a combined food and HPC business?
I think absolutely. Of course, there's always that benefit between focus and scale. And, you know, I've worked in foods retail, I've worked in beauty for many, many years. They are different, so you do need focus. But there's also definitely a benefit to scale, especially when I look at emerging markets. You know, the feet on the street, the distribution, enormous distribution power we have there in many stores that sell both food and HPC. You know, that's a scale advantage that I would hate to miss. Yes.
Just on your tea business, is there any way you can get black tea to grow, or is it just a matter of moving into green tea and herbal teas and just kind of making it a smaller piece, or is there any way to kind of premiumize, you know, Lipton black tea? Because it seems to be kind of ongoing drag every year.
Yeah, so clearly a shift to the tailwinds in tea, which there certainly are. So green tea, herbal tea, also RTD, so ready to drink tea in our Pepsi Lipton joint venture, and sexy new teas. So again, I was in China last week, and in China we sell Lipton milk bubble tea front of house at Burger King. Oh, there's Burger King again, but you know, and that's black tea actually. So there are ways to make that more sexy and more millennial, but it is not hard to change that entire black tea super tanker, especially in the developed world. But we're going to stay at it. Thank you.
Could you maybe talk a bit more about the in-home channel? You talked a lot about out-of-home and how that's growing above 5%. But if that part's growing more than 5%, that means in-home's not growing. So I guess if you could just talk about your outlook there, where the biggest challenges are. Obviously, black tea is one of them that Warren just talked about. But what is your growth outlook for that channel?
Yeah. So with about 55% of our business in foods and refreshments in the US and Europe, I'm sure you guys all know how the big, you know, grocery retailers in Europe and the US are doing. They are struggling. They are struggling like crazy. And if there's any part of their business that is growing, it's actually the fresh perimeter. So their center store is struggling even more than the store as a whole. So that has been a more difficult part for us to grow. What we do see is, you know, even with them, we got to grow where their growth is. So placing Knorr into the fresh section, growing with their grocery.coms, which are also a bright spot for, you know, all the big global grocers, from Tesco to Ahold, you know, to the Stop and Shops here around the corner. So it's a hugely important part of our business. It's not easy to grow, but even with them, we try and grow where the growth is. Yeah. Oh yeah, and it is slightly positive, but it's not going to grow 10%. Yeah. No more questions? Thank you very much. I will then hand over to Peter de Kool.